It's 6:43 on a Monday morning, and you're not going to work today. You retired. You did it. The number hit. You walked away. And you're standing in your kitchen with a cup of coffee that's gotten cold because you've been standing there for 20 minutes, trying to figure out what exactly you're supposed to do next. Nobody warned you about this part. And here's the thing, you're not alone in this. People who retired at 44, at 51, at 38, people who did the math right, people who hit every target they aimed at, almost all of them describe the first year the same way. Quiet. Too quiet. Like something got turned off that was never supposed to be turned off. Today, we're going to talk about what actually happens when you stop working early. Not the tax brackets or the withdrawal rates, the other stuff, the part nobody puts in the calculator. Let's start with what early retirement's actually built on. The FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early, is built on one clean equation. Save aggressively, live below your means, invest the difference, and eventually your portfolio throws off enough passive income that you never have to work again. The math works. The 4% rule, the idea that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually without running out over a 30-year window, has been validated across most historical market periods. A target of 25 times your annual expenses is genuinely solid math. The average FIRE pursuer saves between 40 and 70% of their income. The typical early retiree hits their number somewhere between 35 and 50. By every financial measure, they've won. Here's what they didn't model. A 2021 study out of Oregon State found that people who retire early report significantly higher rates of depression and cognitive decline compared to people who continue working even part-time into their 60s. Not because work is inherently good, but because work was doing things for your brain that you didn't know it was doing. Things you now have to replace on purpose, or your mind will start to notice their absence. Work gave you structure. You had a reason to be somewhere at a specific time. When that disappears, days blur. Tuesday feels like Saturday. March feels like November. A 2019 paper from the Institute of Economic Affairs found that retirement increases the probability of clinical depression by 40% and physical illness by 60%. That's not a small signal. That's an alarm. Work gave you identity, not in the career obsessive way, in the quiet background way. When someone asked who you are, part of your answer was what you did. When that answer disappears, the question gets harder. A lot of early retirees describe a version of this, a low-grade restlessness, like they're waiting for something to begin, except it already began. They just can't feel it yet. Work gave you people, not necessarily your closest friends, but faces, a rhythm of human contact that you didn't know you were depending on until it stopped. Loneliness among early retirees is not a fringe problem. It's one of the most consistent things they describe in forums and private conversations. Most of them never post publicly. Here are the numbers on this. A Gallup study found that people without full-time employment are twice as likely to report depression as those who work. Separate research from the UK found that retirement reduces the probability of being in good health by roughly 40% over time. And the study tracking 5,000 retirees found that every additional year of early retirement increases the risk of serious disease by 2.4%. These studies are not saying work is good and retirement is bad. They're saying that what work provided, you now have to build deliberately. And most people don't know that going in, because nearly all the FIRE content online is about accumulation, how to save faster, how to hit the number sooner. Almost nobody makes content about what happens after the number. Here is what the people who genuinely thrive in early retirement have in common. They replaced structure on purpose, not loosely, not with a vague plan to travel and read and finally learn the guitar, with actual commitments that require showing up. Volunteer boards, training schedules, enrolled classes. The specific form doesn't matter. The obligation does. Your brain needs a reason to organize time, or time will organize you in ways you won't like. They replaced identity before they needed to. The people who struggle hardest are the ones who spent 20 years running toward a number and never built a sense of self alongside it. The ones who thrive tend to have a clear answer to who they are that doesn't include what they used to do for money. That answer usually takes years to build. It almost never arrives on its own after the last paycheck clears. They replace community deliberately, not by hoping old friendships would stretch across new schedules, by finding new people around things they actually care about. The research is blunt on this. Social isolation is as damaging to long-term health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not a metaphor. That's a longitudinal health outcome. And here's the piece almost nobody talks about. The people who retired early and genuinely love their lives are almost never actually idle. They're doing hard things, things that stretch them. The difference between them and the people who quietly fell apart is not portfolio size. It's that they retired to something, not just from something. If you spend a decade running toward a number and never stop to ask what you're running toward after the number, you will hit the number and find that the momentum has nowhere left to go. That sudden stillness after years of forward motion is exactly what most people describe when they try to explain the quiet misery that caught them off guard. So, what do you actually do with this? If you're still in the accumulation phase, the most valuable thing you can build alongside the index funds is an honest answer to 3 questions. Who am I when I'm not optimizing anything? What does a Tuesday I would genuinely choose look like? And who are the people in my life who have nothing to do with my job? If you already crossed and you're standing in your kitchen wondering why the coffee got cold, you're not broken. You're in a transition that almost nobody coaches you through. The disorientation is normal. What comes next depends almost entirely on whether you build towards something on purpose or wait to stumble into it. The number was never the destination. It was just a door. What you build on the other side of that door is the whole point. And unlike the accumulation math, there is no formula for it. There is just a slow, strange work of figuring out who you want to be when the alarm is off and nobody is waiting for you anywhere. That turns out to be the hardest math of all. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs the head start. Subscribe if you want more conversations like this one, and drop your answer in the comments. What would your Tuesday look like? Because that answer, more than any number, tells you where you actually are.